Welcome to Brew Builds. I'm Paul. I've been working on repairing this wall behind me. It was built by a previous owner 20 plus years ago. My neighbor told me a funny oops story about what happened when they built this wall. But before I show you that, I'll show you why I'm having to rebuild this retaining wall. You ready? Let's fix this. We had a very large eucalyptus tree in our front yard that was leaning and outgrowing its space for the trunk, causing the retaining wall to crumble. I had already repaired this wall once, and with the concern of the tree falling over, we decided to have the tree removed. It was a tough decision to have it taken out, but large limbs can break off these trees or the entire tree can fall over, causing lots of damage when they do. I do own a chainsaw, but removing the tree was not a DIY project. Those are some large, heavy limbs. These are sure noisy, but it's amazing how large a limb they can grind up and turn into sawdust. The diameter of the trunk was 54 inches across. They did grind the stump down as much as they could. After all the noise and mess, this is what I'm left with and will need to repair. Tools and items needed. Concrete blocks, some red bricks, concrete mix and mortar mix, 3/8 inch rebar, a London trowel and a brick jointing trowel, a masonry saw, a mixing tub, a cement mixer, a rubber hammer, a pneumatic hammer, a pressure washer, a level, a sawzall, a sledgehammer, an axe and/or pickaxe, a grinder, a tape measure, a masonry string line, some Epsom salt, knee pads, gloves, and your personal safety gear. This wall is built using concrete blocks at its core and covered in red bricks. My goal is to rebuild the wall the same way, so the first thing I had to do was uncover the concrete blocks that were buried under the dirt and sawdust. That way I would have a good starting foundation to repair the wall. The biggest challenge I had was there was a large piece of trunk that had grown over the concrete blocks. They did use a stump grinder, but I was still left with a large piece of root that I had to remove. You can see that it has grown over the concrete block wall right up to the brick walkway. On the brew scale, technical ability I rate as an expert. Keeping a brick wall straight and plumb is challenging for a DIYer. Physical ability I rate as hard to extreme. You do have to use and carry heavy objects for masonry work, and removing a tree root is tough. I used an axe. I used a pick. I used a sawzall. I used an axe with a sledgehammer. I even drilled holes and poured in some Epsom salt to help decompose the roots. Using the sawzall, pick, sledgehammer, axe, pry bar, and a lot of sweat, I finally had the roots cleared off the blocks. I used a pneumatic hammer to chisel the edge of the old broken bricks to break them away from the mortar, hopefully without cracking any more bricks. Like that. To avoid breaking or cracking any of the bricks in the walkway, I used a concrete saw to cut a line along the edge. That way, when removing the broken bricks on the wall portion, it won't add any stress into the walkway. I also made a cut on the top of the wall to prevent any good bricks from cracking. Looks like I need to remove this one last brick. I'll make another cut with a saw, then chip it out. I drilled some 1/2 inch holes into the existing footing so I can add some 3/8 inch rebar to reinforce the wall. Gave it a good power wash and mixed up some concrete patch to hold in the rebar. Probably not the best option, but it's what I had on hand. I wiggled the rebar around to help the patch go down inside the hole. I then laid out the blocks to make sure that they will fit and to see where I'll need to add mortar to get the base level. I need half of a block, so instead of running to the store, I'll just cut one of these in half. Then I can start building the wall. I'm trying to match their original wall. It looks like it was close to level with maybe a slight tilt towards the street. It just needs to be 2 blocks high, except on the end closest to the house needs to be 3 blocks. I'll just check that it is level, straight, and plumb, and then I'll fill the blocks with cement. Block wall is done. That's a nice looking retaining wall core. Unfortunately, my happiness with my new repaired block wall went away when I took a closer look. I'm sure you have all heard the saying, measure twice, cut once. Well, I have a new one. Measure once or don't measure, cut twice, and use a sledgehammer. There are 3 levels to this retaining wall. I want where they drop down to line up on each side of the walkway. The new concrete blocks line up with the red bricks on the other side. Problem is, I still need to put in the red bricks in front of the blocks. Looking at the mortar lines in the walkway, it looks like I'll need to cut this block in half, which will leave me room for the mortar and a brick, which will then line up with the bricks on the other side of the walkway. I think I was trying to figure out where the full blocks were in the old wall, and that's where I made my mistake. This should be fun to cut. Since the mortar and concrete hadn't cured yet, once the rebar was cut, the entire block just came off. I ended up re-drilling the holes and adding in a new piece of rebar. It's almost at the point where I can start adding the red bricks. I just have a few more broken ones at each end that I need to remove, chip out some of the old mortar, and then I can start fitting the bricks into place. Hopefully I don't crack or break any more of these good bricks when I remove the few broken ones. I can only get the diamond blade into the brick mortar about 3/4 of an inch. Hopefully that is enough to avoid cracking the bricks. I have the bricks from the old wall that was crumbling, as well as some from a wall I removed when I remodeled the backyard. There's a playlist on the complete project where I built a paver patio, a new rough-cut wood pergola, a smooth stucco retaining wall, and a fireplace and barbecue structure that is the key focal point. It was a fun yet challenging project, and I'm very happy with the results. Be sure to watch those videos as well. What I soon discovered about red bricks is they're not all the same. There are a bunch to choose from, varying in shape, size, and color. They also have different smooth surfaces. Some may have just smooth sides, and others a couple smooth sides with a smooth top, and some may only have one smooth side. I did find some at a local building material place near me that I think will work. This is your classic red brick that came out of the wall and all the sides are smooth. This one is from the top of the back retaining wall and is slightly bigger. But because of the mortar that is stuck on it, I can only use it as a top brick. This one is the one I purchased, and I can only use it with the side showing because it has a stamped top and a rough bottom. We chose it because the size and color match closest to the original brick. I used a power washer to clean the dirt off the old bricks. You can see the differences in the sides. Some are smooth and others are much more porous. I imagine years ago bricks were made with all 6 sides looking nice. Then to cut costs, they started making just the sides you will see nice looking. Since I know I'm not going to be very fast doing this, I'm going to mix half a bag of mortar at a time. I don't want the pressure of having to rush because the mortar is starting to set. Let's lay some bricks. You can see in this shot that I'm great at making a mess.
Well, I ran out of mortar, which actually ended up being a good thing because I forgot to use a very important tool. I had to remove and break out some of the bricks that I had put in. Fortunately, the mortar hadn't completely set, so I was able to get the bricks out without breaking any of them. And what was that very important tool? A string. This will help me keep the bricks level from end to end as well as in a straight line. I purchased a couple more bags of mortar mix. Oh, and also got some new gloves that don't have holes in the fingertips. So I'm ready to get back to this wall and get these bricks laid down flat and straight. But before I do, let me show you the funny oops that happened when they first built this wall.
This wall has a big opening to gain access to the water meter. According to my neighbor, when a previous homeowner had this wall built, they covered up the water meter. And of course they had to come out and redo it, which explains why there is a different pattern on this part of the wall. It would have been funny to see their faces when they found out. Makes me feel a little better about forgetting to use a string line. Whoops! I have the string set at the top of the next row of bricks. I'm using bricks to hold it down at the proper height. This will help me keep the row straight, level, and not end up with a bow in the middle. I preset the bricks in order so I can add them to the wall with a bit of variety, mixing in the new ones with the old ones. Let's see if I can get this finished and straight. I find it easier to put the mortar down on the top surface of the wall for 3 to 4 bricks first, then butter, which means applying mortar, to the one joining side of the next brick and add it to the wall. Doing it this way, at least for me being a DIYer, helps prevent the mortar from falling off the brick. I like to use a rubber mallet to knock the brick into place. I know you can use the bottom of a trowel. I just find when I do that, any leftover mortar on the trowel just splatters all over the place. Skilled pros take 5 seconds a brick. I'm closer to 30 seconds to a minute. After completing each row, I would fill in the space in between the concrete blocks and the red bricks. Then fill in any voids between the bricks using a brick jointing trowel. I need to get the mortar cleaned off before it dries any further and becomes impossible to get off the bricks. After getting the last row of bricks on the wall, I realized that I needed to add some cement to create a level surface for the red bricks that will go on top. This required me to build a quick form, fill it in with some cement that I had on hand, and then let it dry overnight. The top of the wall is made using one full brick and one half brick, so I'll need to cut a bunch of bricks in half. I made a little brick holder so I can cut 7 bricks at a time using the concrete saw. The next morning, after the filler cement dried, I laid out some of the top bricks on the wall to figure out the spacing. I also added a string line to help me keep the bricks level with the existing wall. It's going to be interesting because the weight of the brick is causing it to tilt off the edge a little. Hopefully the mortar will hold it in place. It's very important to wash the excess mortar off the bricks. If you wait too long, it will become almost impossible to remove. Also, take the time to shape the mortar between the bricks using a sponge or a shaping tool. I had to trim away some of the red brick to create an even surface for the bricks that will go on front where the level drops down. Using a diamond blade on my hand grinder made this easy and very dusty. Be sure to wear a quality dust mask when cutting bricks. This is the last section I need to do and the wall will be finished. I needed a small piece of brick to fill in a gap. That way the end pieces will line up with each other. While editing this video, I noticed that the upper level drop is 2 bricks and the lower level drop is 3 bricks high. I went out to take a look at the wall again and to see it was the same way on the other side of the walkway. And it isn't. I guess it was just built this way originally. There's other differences as well that makes me think that 2 different people built these walls. One of the things that I've learned doing this project is that bricklaying can be just as creative as it is technical, so don't sweat over the imperfections. After the mortar has set, the last step is to give the wall a good power washing to remove the residue off the bricks. The wall is rebuilt. This was more difficult than I thought it would be, but I did learn a few things. Since you've watched all the way to the end, how about hitting that like button for me? And check out these other DIY videos of me fixing things around the house. Now I just need to repair the irrigation, then we can add in some more plants and give back the front yard this nice curb appeal. On to the next project.